Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing a military blunders video on the story of BravoTwoZero. BravoTwoZero was a military unit, and they were put into Iraq during the Iraq War. Let me start at the beginning. Civilians, and indeed many military people, tend to frown on military intelligence. I have lost count of the number of times I've heard the old joke, military intelligence is a contradiction of terms. However, military intelligence is a necessity in any military operation. A lack of information or wrong information, bad information, especially key information, almost guarantees a failure of said operation. Let's just get right into this. On January 22nd, 1991, during the First Gulf War, the British military deployed an 8-man SAS team into western Iraq. For those of you who don't know, the SAS is the Special Air Service. It's the British Special Forces, like our Green Berets and Navy SEALs and like that. The mission was to observe and report on enemy troop and equipment movements along a major road through the region. Now, the SAS are supremely qualified to do just about any job. They're very tough. They're some of the toughest people in the world. So putting them in there tells me that this was an important function. Okay? Each man wore lightweight summer clothing and carried 120 pounds of gear. They were supposed to be there for a while. The team was deployed quietly at night, and first light revealed an area much more heavily populated by both military and civilian traffic than was reported, including an Iraqi anti-aircraft position 200 meters from the team's position. Now keep in mind, this is a wartime footing, so any military installation, any military setup like this anti-aircraft position, at night they kept noise and light discipline down, so they didn't want to be seen, they didn't want to be heard. So when these guys were put in there, 200 meters away you had an enemy installation and they didn't even know it was there. And that makes sense, because that happens. But their military intelligence should have known that was there. They should have known how heavily traveled this route was. And it was cold. The Iraqi winters can be very, very harsh. The team realized that this situation was untenable, and they attempted to radio for extraction. However, they had been given incorrect radio frequencies. They have protocols for, procedures for when they lose radio contact, communications. So they opted to stay put and wait for their scheduled extraction, just like the protocol said. Unfortunately, they were spotted by a small boy who alerted the nearby troops. BravoTwoZero became embroiled in several firefights and decided to run for the Syrian border 75 miles away along the Euphrates River. Freezing winter weather moved in, and the team got separated in a blizzard. One group lost a man through hypothermia, and another man was captured trying to obtain a vehicle. One man, Chris Ryan, made it to safety, having walked 186 miles in just over a week. So he was determined to get the hell out of there. You can't blame him. The other group hijacked an Iraqi taxi and were caught in a firefight 4 miles from the Syrian border. One man was shot dead, and one man died of hypothermia after swimming the river. The other 2 were captured. Out of 8 men, 3 were dead and 4 were captured. 1 made it out. This is an intelligence and logistics failure. Nobody looked at the weather report. I guess they assumed that because it was the Middle East, it was going to be hot. I don't know. The team was not given proper clothing. Nobody had any cold weather clothing. They did not have proper troop intelligence for the enemy in the area. They didn't have any kind, and in modern times, this is unforgivable. You have resources. You have satellite imagery. You can find out how busy the area is. If there's an anti-aircraft gun 200 meters, the satellite should have picked it up. You see what I'm saying? For whatever reason, they didn't get any of this. And on top of that, the one that gets me, bad radio frequencies. That's just unforgivable. You have to be able to communicate with your team. They may as well have been sent in there without rifles or without food or whatever. That is unforgivable. You have the team has to be able to call the boss, find out what the hell's going on. This is just ridiculous. The whole point, the mission from planning to them guys being put in there was, to the point where they were inserted into the country, into Iraq, were that whole section there was non-existent. I don't know. These guys have a reason to be pissed, and hopefully the 4 that were captured were, released later. I don't know, but if anybody has more information on that, put it in the comments. I'd love to read it. But that was just a failure from the get-go, and it was all in the planning stages. So sometimes you don't have to be a bad commander to lose based on bad intelligence. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all.